From the time I was first elected, I became aware of the problems that resulted from the overpopularity of Gardner Lake. Whether it was too many people on the water, overflowing trash, out of control alcohol use, the residents and the local community were really concerned. In the first year of my term, I was able to work with Senator Formica to get an alcohol ban passed. But in the years that have followed, the problems have just exploded. And I know there's testimony from DEEP explaining that they simply don't have the capacity to patrol the park and keep things safe for everyone. On the other hand, that they can't limit people going in. I believe this is a true public safety issue, and with your permission, I have my first selectman, Ed Chmielewski of Salem here, who can really give you the first-hand view of what it's like as a town leader to have to confront a situation that is really not his responsibility. So may I bring First Selectman Chmielewski up with me? Thank you.
My name is Ed Chmielewski, and I'm happy to give testimony today in support of raised House Bill 5216. Thank you for hearing my testimony. As first selectman in the town of Salem, I respectfully urge you to support raised House Bill 5216. I'm a retired state and local law enforcement supervisor with over 35 years of experience, and I spent many years supervising police officers at Ocean Beach State Park. It's my strong belief that the current seasonal conditions at the state of Connecticut, Gardner Lake State Park, and boat launch are unsafe and dangerous. Failure to enact these recommended safeguards to protect public safety could very well lead to serious physical injury and/or death. Gardner Lake's a breathtaking 500-plus acre lake surrounded by well-maintained private homes and a privately owned camp that borders the towns of Salem, Montville, and Bosra. The main entrance to Gardner Lake State Park and boat launch is located on a state road. Oversight, authority, management, maintenance, and police-related safety and security for the roadway, for the park, and for the boat launch falls on the state of Connecticut. It's my understanding that a combined state park and boat launch is unusual. Each require individualized staffing, oversight, management, and security, but the combination of the two multiplies its problems exponentially. More often than not, during the busy summer months at Gardner Lake State Park and boat launch, it's unstaffed, it's unmanaged, it's unsupervised until a problem arises. This is due to the failure of the state to provide proper DEEP funding for its park staff. As a member of the Salem Board of Selectmen for the past 12 years, I've repeatedly heard residents of Salem, Bosra, and Montville complain about quality of life issues, excessive alcohol consumption, illicit drug use, noise complaints, trespassing, and other dangerous conditions at Gardner Lake State Park and boat launch. In the past, residents complained focused about alcohol consumption, noise-related issues, and quality of life. I'm happy to say that we work with Senator Formica, State Representative Cheeseman, former Selectman Kevin Lyden, to work with DEEP to institute an alcohol ban within the park. Though the alcohol ban has been renewed every year, it's only been effective when the police are on site to impose a clear and present deterrent. Without police patrols, the alcohol ban is meaningless. I've observed children and adults swimming in the lake nearly get hit by speeding jet skis. I've observed DEEP signs prohibiting swimming and mooring of water vessels ignored by visitors more often than not. I've observed people jumping from the dock in front of moving boats and jet skis. I've observed people trespassing on neighborhood residential properties. I've observed children and adults nearly get hit by motor vehicles or backing trailered vehicles while crossing the boat launch pavement while attempting to use the porta potty. I've observed people pouring gas into their jet skis and boats, carelessly spilling gasoline into our beautiful lake. I've observed people urinating in public, and I've observed raw sewage and urine from mischievously overturned porta potty located near the lake run down the pavement into the lake that was filled with people. When the parking lot's full, park goers use neighborhood streets, sometimes parking on residential lawns, and they've been known to carpool for as long as 4 miles away in our businesses. On a hot summer weekend, the park and its staff, the problems explode exponentially. While additional funding funds to support the state park through passports to park programs have been taken in by the state, as we've heard, this income's not being reinvested at the state boat launch in Gardner Lake. In 2023, a local newspaper wrote an article titled "Keeping Order at Gardner Lake." In the article, many of these problems were noted. Residents stated, "It's just a matter of time before there's an accident." As the first selectman in Salem, after exhausting efforts to try to get deep patrols and state police patrols, I hired at Salem taxpayer costs Connecticut state troopers to work patrol and overtime on the beach, and we hired a tow truck
Your time is
as a
expired. If you
deterrent.
could just summarize, please.
Thank you. The enhanced coverage has cost us thousands of dollars. I want to express my appreciation to Gardner Lake Authority, to the state representatives Holly Cheeseman, Basra, Selectman Pianka, Montville Mayor Bunnell, Deep Manager Knoop, Deep Captain Mazzadas, Connecticut State Police Lieutenant Litwind, Sergeant Rupert, and resident troopers Duffy and Crosby, as well as our Salem Board of Selectmen, for leaning forward and trying to proactively plan this next coming season. But we need your help. We need this bill passed. To address issues and avert possible tragedy, it seems only prudent for DEEP to carry out the process that was outlined in this proposed bill to fund it accordingly. I respectfully urge your support for raised House Bill 5216. Thank you very much.
Mr. First Selectman, thank you for the testimony. I have to say I admire your hairstyle. And you have a question from Representative Callahan.
Thank you. It was a bad hair day this morning. My apologies.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Cheeseman, and my old friend Ed. Thank you for coming in. Ed and I worked together many years ago, and I haven't seen you in probably 15 years, so it's great to see you here.
Great to see you, Representative Callahan. Thank you for your kind words.
And thank you for your service to your country, your state, and your town.
Thank you.
If you could, it seems like a similar situation to we dealt with at Squan's Pond, but you have, is it difficult to get deep ENCON officers there? Are they there all the time on hot summer weekends?
The deep, they're not regularly patrolled, so what we found over the years is that it's a triage. They're not properly funded, they're not properly staffed, so if you look at all of your state parks, there is not a schedule. Once the local newspaper article hit mid-season, we were able to collaborate. I was able to coordinate efforts with DEEP and the state police. But if you look at their schedule, they're not funded. The problem is that without that, residents get upset, people get used to drinking and doing what they want to do, and then when DEEP staff do come in, because they're not staffing it every weekend in the summer, there's no one there. I have been the parking guard as the first selectman. I've been there coordinating with the state police and then bringing in DEEP, and we've had a great huddle up, but often there's no one there. And that's the problem. So residents get upset because there's no services, and then people get upset, and then the law enforcement component gets upset because they're getting yelled at and berated by the residents that are upset. It's challenging. It's a very challenging situation.
The way I understand it is the cost to manage this is falling on you and your town.
The cost is falling on, I paid overtime thousands and thousands of dollars last year, and I put in my budget this year for overtime for Connecticut state troopers to patrol the Gardner Lake State Park and boat launch, because DEEP is not funded, and we know that on a regular shift on a weekend there's 1 or 2 DEEP ENCON officers in eastern Connecticut. We also know that at the troop, and that's why I wanted to comment on the cooperation of the lieutenant and his staff. There's a couple troopers in the entire eastern district of Colchester, so we know there's no one to respond when the neighbors are calling, and so I've got to step up for safety and provide that. It would be great to fund DEEP, and if DEEP can't provide their ENCON officers, then they could bring in the state police on a contract interagency agreement to staff Gardner Lake Park.
And if I could just weigh in, do you want to turn your mic off, Ed? The Gardner Lake Authority itself raises funds and contracts with the Montville Police Department to patrol the lake, but again, This is the local towns footing the bill for something that DEEP is, at this point, unable to provide. And my frustration is, if you can't ensure the safe use of the park by providing the resources necessary, to then be told, but we can't give you people to stop people coming in. It seems a conundrum. And at the end of the day, it is the local residents, the local towns who are paying the price for this. And there's some other testimony from local residents, and you go to the meetings of the Gardner Lake Authority and talk to the Friends of Gardner Lake, and they genuinely believe it is only a matter of time before we have a terrible tragedy, because there's so many people in this small area. And as the first selectman said, if there is not the presence of law enforcement or ENCON officers, that behavior that DEEP may have, it's an alcohol ban or whatever, just simply can't be stopped. And at the end of the day, do we want to sit by and allow this to happen? And I think the legislation that was passed with regard to Squan's Pond provides a perfect path forward. Let's do a study. Let's see what the maximum capacity is that can safely use the park. And it's not every day. You get rainy weekends, it's fine, but it's on those days when it's hot, when it's sunny, and you heard the commissioner say we've seen a 50% increase in the number of people using the state parks. This is not an attempt to deny people an access to the park. This is an attempt to keep the people who are at the park safe and ensure the quality of life for the residents. And I know DEEP has said they're willing to discuss this. I think that's obviously welcome. But in the interim, how does it hurt to do the study to at least look at how can we ensure that people can use this wonderful facility in a safe manner?